Don't test that stereo.
This is the Iron Sharpens Iron Show with your host, Latrice Cook.
Good afternoon, KAZI listeners. You are tuned into the Iron Sharpens Iron Show, and I am your host, Latrice Cook, on this fabulous Wednesday afternoon. Always glad to be here, sitting in a place to put some flavor in your ear, because as you know, the Iron Sharpens Iron Show talks about people, views, opinions, and resources that are associated with those persons that have previously been incarcerated and their families. And sometimes we deviate just a little bit about that, just so that we will be able to bring active community members who are doing different things in our community that is important for you to know. So thank you so much for keeping it locked to the left on KAZI 88.7 FM. As you know, we have been off and running this month of January, I almost said July, January, 25 days into the new year. And I am hopeful that your new year has been, in the first 25 days, spectacular and blessed, and that you are doing things that are helping you to move forward in whatever it is you aspire to do with your life, and that you are engaged in helping somebody else to have a little bit of a better life. So, 25 days may seem like a small amount, but in this time and era, 25 days is like 25 years. Time is moving so fast. And so, I just want to appreciate all of you all who have continued to support our show specifically and the work of Mel Center. Shout out to those people at Mel Center. I always have to shout my staff out who do a tremendous job of making sure that they are there and available to you all for whatever calls, questions that you may have that are associated with needs you may have as being a person who's on parole, a flat discharge, or just a family member who's looking for answers and assistance with housing, substance abuse, just getting yourself reacclimated successfully back into the community. 512-473-2525 is the number at the Mel Center, where Shirley, Sally, and Bobby are just sitting, waiting there for your phone calls in case you miss us here while we're on the air. I have a phenomenal, fine brother in the studio this afternoon, and as soon as I get through with all my preliminaries, we're going to go to him. And so, as always, I'm always aspired in having someone who has a big footprint in doing things for those that may be marginalized or just community members, and that are doing it from a heartfelt place, as opposed to trying to figure out how they can make money on people's pain. And that's important, because one of the things that I learned when I got into this space of working with people that had previously been incarcerated and their families is you have to have a call to do this in spite of whether you have funding or not, because you really want to see people get well for real. And sometimes that means giving of yourself and your personal resources to be in that space, and not looking to just, if you don't get paid, that you abandon that space. And I can tell you, as a 19-year veteran in this particular space, that I have seen people come and go, and I have seen people who have planted their feet now in this space for financial gain and less for the success of those persons that we serve. So, it's always good to have people with you who have their own ability to be out here in this space and not be looking for all the financial gain that many people are doing these days. So we're going to talk about that too. Our number here in the studio, 512-836-2887, 512-836-2887. And before I introduce my guest, I just want to ask, we're 25 days into the new year. We have been doing this 40 by 40. Have you given your contribution yet to KZI? If you have not, please make it your business today to stop and give some kind of contribution. It doesn't have to be the 40. We said 40 by 40 because we want $40 from 40 people, if that's possible. But whatever it is that you can contribute, do that today. Stop putting off things that you can do today for tomorrow. Please support the radio station. Shout out to Tracy and all those other folks, all the volunteers and ex-volunteers and Juliet, all those people who have put their time and efforts right here in KAZI. And shout out to Mr. RJ, who is the engineer on the lick for the Iron Sharpens Iron show, almost 1 year down now. Stephen Brown is a clinical consultant clinical consultant for neurosurgeons. Global Healthcare Solutions Company. Sorry about that. As a clinical consultant, Brown works with neurosurgeons to determine best practices in extracting brain tumors and performing other medical procedures using enabling technologies. Stephen Brown is a fourth-generation Austinite who grew up on East 9th Street, hearing stories from neighborhood residents. Let me take off these fake glasses so I can read here. Family, friends, and his grandmother, Novelle Roberts, for whom he named Rosalind's Novel, the nonprofit he started. He now shares those stories of a close-knit Black community with others to foster a greater understanding of Austin's Black community and their footprint in East Austin, past and present. Brown also collects stories and uses them to educate, motivate, and mobilize young people and others in Austin. One example is his partnership with Forklift Dance to tell the story of Dr. Everett H. Givens. Brown has been involved in serving Austin people experiencing homelessness since high school. When under mentorship of a high school football coach, he delivered meals and clothing to people living on the streets. Recently, Brown helped put together a team of community people working with the city of Austin to establish a COVID-19 testing site at Givens Park, which is a gathering place for dozens of homeless African-American people. He also initiated and advocated for the city of Austin to recognize Joanne Means' courageous contributions that led to the desegregation of Barton Springs. Brown graduated from the Texas State University with a bachelor's in applied science. He also is an alumni of Austin Community College and Houston Tillotson University. Currently, Brown serves on the governing board of ECHO, the umbrella organization for Austin organizations addressing homelessness. And he is a recipient of the first humanitarian award given by the Hospital Corporation of America, Healthcare, in recognition of those who demonstrate a caring and commitment to improving human lives. And most recently, he was recognized by the NAACP for his community leadership. And one of the things my staff left out in his bio is, and I think one of the most important things is that Stephen is a father. And that is always monumental. Welcome this afternoon, Stephen Brown.
Thank you, Ms. Latrice Cook. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you for all that you do and your organization do. And like you said, it's really nice when people are doing this work from the heart. They're authentic and genuine and making responsible observations so that we can move this thing further together. So thank you.
Thank you for that. So we have just a bunch of ways we can go with this. I want to ask you about your profession because, as I told you, many of you all may not can see, but he is such a wonderful. Eye candy is always good for me, especially when you get antiquated and old and stuff. And he's in his scrubs. So I want to talk to him about that portion of it. But before getting into that, you are a Austinite, which is literally unheard of in this day and age. What is it about Austin right now that still drives you to want to be involved in making things better for the Black community?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, it's still the community. I grew up on East 9th Street, and I was fortunate enough to have my grandmother and my great-grandmother and my mother, and they told so many stories of, just a strong-knit, tight community, and I got to witness a lot of that. I played a lot with, kids, and when we were younger in elementary, the parks and the people and the sharing and the caring. And so, that vibe is still alive and well today. One of the things as I got older, I realized how marginalized East Austin was and the strategy to keep Blacks away healthy spaces. And so as I got older, going to Barton Springs and being in nature, I see how that really benefits mental health and healing. And I still get that vibe when I'm in Austin. I love the open space. I love the water. I love, the community members. So I'm committed to being here, seeing a better future, making sure that my children get to play and experience a space that my grandmother would have loved for me to experience in East Austin.
Me and my daughter were talking about yesterday how kids are so moved away from the things of old. Like my granddaughter is steadily asking her mom, and she asked her this again, was grandma born before the internet?
Yeah.
We're laughing at that,
yeah,
but that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
It's a real thing. And it's a real thing because when I was growing up and we came to Austin early on, I remember walking to Bartholomew Park.
Oh, yeah. I
remember going to the library that it was over by Rylanders, which is, where Baskin Robbins, and I think it's called, I forget what the name of the barbershop is now that's there where Baskin Robbins used to be. But those things that we used to, and I remember going to Givens Park, and actually my grandfather had a home for years and years on Oak Cliff, and right up the street from Sims. And so I remember going to Givens, actually swimming in that swimming pool, going to the park, all these things that have really changed for the worst of Austin, as far as I'm concerned. And we're going to talk too about some of the groups and advocacy work that's being done or not done around the groups that have came in and that have also kind of, I call them like the new Black Mafia, in that they have literally partnered with some of the entities that are selling out some of the good things that we have had as a Black community in Austin. I kind of want to, when you said that about 9th Street and growing up, that's what made me reflect on what my granddaughter said and some of those things. But in speaking about the partnership of some of the organizations that have compromised some, I want you to kind of speak a little bit on that.
Yeah. So for me, like one of the things my great grandmother always taught me is that to be a professional, civically engaged community member, and you might not always get what you want, but you need to let the city and let people know that you have a voice. One of my, I'm concerned with some of the things that I've seen. I've seen, organizations in a way use marginalizing tools to kind of keep authentic voices out of certain spaces, because sometimes, your voice might not always be attractive for funding. And it's important as a community member and as people that are assuming these certain positions, that we make sure we pick people that aren't compromisable. And there's a lot of folks that, to be quite frank, being an advocate right now is a pretty, popular thing. And this is for some folks, this is the best job that they've ever had.
Exactly.
One of the things that I always say is that we should make sure that we're working to put ourselves out of business if you're advocating.
Yes.
And if you're advocating and you're perpetuating a situation, or even going along with strategies or plans that come from the city that don't really stick to the root of the problem, but they might kind of, they might water down or keep, suffice certain things, then you're selling the Black community short. And so it's important, I always come from the standpoint of, I just desire a community, like my great grandmother said, of a professional, civically engaged community members, so that we all can contribute to the solution. Because what's some of the things that are being proposed, some of the things that are taking place, some of the folks that are getting money, it just doesn't come close to solving any of the problems. It's just giving people, and only a handful, maybe 2 or 3 people, the best salaries that they've ever had before. And that doesn't fix the problem.
We have to go to break. In the studio with me this afternoon is Stephen Brown, and I am so honored to have him here on the Iron Sharpens Iron show. 512-836-2887 is a number you can call in if you'd like to join this conversation, and please keep it locked to the left. We'll be right back to you. And we are back. You are tuned into the Iron Sharpens Iron show. I'm your host, Latrice Cook, in the studio this afternoon with Stephen Brown. If you would care to join into this conversation, you may do that by calling 512-836-2887. If you have a question or you have something you want to contribute to the conversation. Before I let Stephen go back into talking about some of the issues with entities, organizations that have come in and that are probably, we're thinking about things that the Black community needs. And Stephen works in different capacities with different entities of the city of Austin, as well as just personally, that can have been somewhat affected by maybe their interference or their their interference that is disingenuous. If I can just be straightforward and say that. I also want to just interject, which we didn't put in the bio, that Stephen was the person who filed a complaint with the EEOC successfully.
Yeah.
Because he was, I don't know if you were trying to just go through the process of getting into the Austin Fire Department.
I was.
Yeah. So we're going to get into that, but we want to go back to one thing, because I wanted to talk to you about the community garden, that there has been question about that. The community garden project that was happening at Givens, what happened, and why is that? There's nothing going on.
Yeah. I mean, so right now Givens Park is under construction, and, there's some upgrades that are much needed. I like to also start by saying the reason why, Givens is being upgraded now is because community members have, just pretty much said enough is enough. We hate that we're without a pool right now, and it took a lot of work for community members to get the city to acknowledge that the reason why we're without a pool is because of years of neglect. So Givens Park has been neglected for a long time. I think it's the second municipal park that was given to East Austinites after the destabilization of those freedmen's communities. And so when folks came east in 1928, or made to come east, Givens Park was a part of the plan to pacify some folks that would we need a park. And so after years of budget and neglect, we finally are getting Givens upgraded. So the community garden is something that a lot of folks wanted.
So do you think the upgrades sincerely are because of you all's advocacy for that, or is it because white people have moved over there?
Oh, I think it's a tad bit of both. I mean, probably a lot more because there are, new community members that don't look like us white folks. And, we have bonds and budgets that have been passed, and now there's a focus on Givens. And like you said, the community component of it is that folks like me have been very vocal about saying no one is interested in helping to design a park that we don't see ourselves a part of. And so my great-grandmother loved for us to be able to play outside and go to parks, and she wanted safe and clean parks for us. So I'm not upset about having upgrades to the park. I hate that it took so long. I hate that my grandmother couldn't see kids play in a nice upgraded park, but here we are now. And so I always say, my silver lining is making sure that community members are sticking around, that they are still present, and that they're still implementing and doing things that they want to do at the park. Making sure that the ecosystem and that Givens stay something like what we were used to is important to us. So yeah, I mean, there's upgrades being done because we have new neighbors, and then there's some folks that are tired of having our swimming pool leak 100 gallons an hour a day at Givens. So that's why we're getting a new pool. I mean, the neglect was so bad that we were leaking something like 100 gallons an hour a day at Givens Park because they didn't fix it.
So the interesting question I have for that, which probably will throw you totally, is how many of the advocacy groups, the known advocacy groups that have been raised to be the new Jesus for Austin, how many people really have that kind of information, that intricate information, that are working towards these efforts of Givens? How many, you said something that I mean, probably the engineers and the people that are associated, 100 gallons of water a day. How many people really know that are advocating for?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, a lot of this information is public history. I don't know that a lot of folks are interested in it because there hasn't been maybe a grant for knowing this information. But I'm sure as soon as there's a grant or there's some way to monetize it, I'm sure that they'll learn this information and also want to collect stories from locals so that they can make sure that they check certain boxes so that they can get funding. And I just want to be clear as well. I'm not for I'm for certain organizations. I'm for organizations getting money to do this work. I always relate it like a record label, and I tell community members the same thing. If you're giving your story to an organization and they're working close with you, and then they go off and they get a grant and they never come back to say how your story contributed to them getting that grant, or even try to make sure that you're compensated for your story. It's just like a record label, like they're singing your song and they're the only ones that are getting paid for it. So you have to watch out. This community has already been exploited by the city. We've been exploited by each other. This is history, and as we move forward, we can no longer stand to be exploited. We have to make sure that we are knowledgeable and we know our history and where the history happened to us, to locals here. And so we have to protect that in a way. We have to protect it, but also be able to put ourselves in position to advocate for it so that we can see the things that we want to see. Just a quick example, when we were designing Givens Park, they kind of were saying different colors and what they wanted to see the park. And I said, no, I want the slide to be yellow and black. And everyone asked me, well, why do you want it to be yellow and black? Because that's pretty specific. Anderson. And I said, for Ode Anderson. Yep. I said, we are trying, us locals sometimes, I know for me, I'll speak for myself, I'm looking for reconciliation. I'm looking for restitution, while others might be looking for opportunity. This is the best way I can put it. Now, if your opportunity is standing in the way of my reconciliation, you need to recognize that the city might be using you to suppress or marginalize me. Now, I'm happy with you getting opportunity, but we can. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be reconciliation, restitution, and opportunity for all. But when certain groups or certain people marginalize certain people so that they can have the opportunity to be the only one in the room, that's wrong. And that's when we get into spaces of unintended consequences.
And we have a caller. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the Iron Sharpens Iron show.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Excuse me.
It's really good afternoon, but we're going to let you make it.
Exactly. My bad. That's my bad. Yes, it's afternoon by now, right? So, okay. I personally, I'm familiar with the topic that the young man is speaking about as far as, the Givens Park and everything, because that's part of my neighborhood, and I've been over in that neighborhood for 20 years plus now. I've raised a family in that neighborhood. I frequent the park, Givens Park, is part of that neighborhood. I frequent the pool. It's part of that neighborhood. My grandson has played plenty of sports and activities over at Givens Recreation in that neighborhood.
Wow.
The thing that has changed about that neighborhood is that there are other people that has moved into that neighborhood and has taken steps to see the park be better. So if the neighborhood is better, the park is supposed to be better. I've been advocating for the park since I've been in that neighborhood, especially the pool area, because during the summer months, I mean, it's so hot. We only have Givens Pool. Well, we only had Givens Pool, to frequent. When the kids are hot, me and my wife would pack them up and let's go to the pool.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Givens, there was Rosewood, there's Bartholomew, there's pools around the area, but I'm talking specifically on,
in your neighborhood.
Right, in our community, So, my wife is an advocate, has been an advocate since day one. Over as far as how the pool and everything has been the upgrade and it's been upkept and everything, and it's been several years that we've come up with petitions and got stuff sent down to the city and to those folks that's the Parks and Recreation, to advocate for the pool, showing that the community is concerned about the pool, but like the young man said, there's been years and years of neglect. And over time, unfortunately, if you neglect something, over time, it's going to fall down.
Yeah.
Sir, I just want to. You said that you all. What is your name, so that you can give a shout out to your wife who's done this. So, what's your who is that?
Okay, my name is Llewellyn Ben, and I presently stay in the hog pen, so I'm gonna represent the hog pen.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Fort Branch.
Oh, yeah.
Fort Branch,
Hog Pen, Sam Houston.
Yeah, Meander, all those places. Yes.
Most definitely. And my wife, Janelle.
Okay.
She's been advocating since day one. She's branched out into the neighborhood and started working in the community. As far as preparing food. She's has an excellent opportunity to do what she does best and what she loves the most up at the Chevron in the community right now. So she's doing her thing now as far as cooking wise. So you shout out if you get a chance to go by the Chevron. Go check my wife out. She's up there doing her thing, So.
All right.
Well, we thank you so much for thank you so much for your call and continue to listen. Thank you again, Llewellyn.
Thank you.
So in thinking about just what he said again, years of neglect. That's because when black people were in a mass over there, let's just be real about it, and so all these, all this really goes back to when black people are somewhere, until and I have to just be blanket. I have people of all nationalities that work for Melge and all this kind of stuff. So they, we have to just be candid. So, when white people come in the mix, whatever they push for, they push us out, and whatever it is that they want, they pretty much get done.
Yeah.
This is true for East Austin. Things are I'm seeing streets being, done, all kind of things that had not been done in the past.
Yeah, we got bicycle lanes.
Yeah, that speaks to the things that we are talking about. That things happen differently in our communities, just like the pool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a shout out to that brother and sister for continue to. Use their voice and advocate. Like I said, certain things, it just takes a collective group of community members that really are serious about this work. So shout out.
We have another caller on the line, 512-836-2887. If you want to join in. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to the Iron Sharpens Iron Show.
Good morning. Oh, good afternoon. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's morning somewhere. That's good. You all right?
I have a question.
Okay.
Who currently owns Gibbons Park.
So the whole community. It's a municipal park.
No. Let me stop you right there. From 12th Street to Springdale to Rosewood and the cemetery, who owns Gibbons Park? Thank you. Bye.
Wait a minute. Wait. Thank you. Bye. You should have answered that since you put that out there. We're gonna hear what you 512-836-2887.
I definitely want to. I mean, I want trick questions.
Yeah.
No, but I'm
Taxpayers.
sure. I mean, like you said. Then that's another thing too. One of the things is citizens and community members need to understand how their tax dollars are being used. Mm-hmm. And when you go to vote or a bond is passed and your taxes are raised, your property taxes, or you sales tax, that's money that you have access to. And then when you say you want upgrades at the park, you have a right to advocate,
Absolutely.
criticize, and say what it is that you want. But Gibbons Park is a municipal park, and it's owned by us as taxpayers. And again, because it was designated to us as the second black park after Rosewood, a lot of community members have taken ownership and take pride and joy in Gibbons Park.
I mean, and so I'm not gonna get hung up on that caller because you asked a question and then you hung up. So thank you for your call anyway, and for that, because I would say that community at one time, I feel like we as a black community and as the major tax base for that. For some of these things, we're talking about the cemetery, the park, this, that, and the other. We probably felt like we had ownership, as a taxpaying. But again, that would be, as Stephen was saying, to anybody who's paying taxes for the city of Austin and county taxes. We have a right to demand that things are maintained and that the integrity of the neighborhoods are kept. Just because people move in, our history shouldn't be erased. And the people that have kept those places nice to the best of their ability, since the city didn't invest in those things, you still had community members who are long gone who really tried to make it be the best that it could be with the resources that they did have. And Stephen, let's kind of shift gears just a little bit. I want to talk about your involvement with ECHO. You have such a huge resume, and you have such an humble spirit. I came to meet Stephen through Chaz Moore. He introduced me to you as a person that he revered and that he thought was somebody I needed to know, and a good person, somebody that he considered at the time when he made the introduction while he is at your house as a confidant, somebody that he could go to. And so that's how I met you. And I am so happy for that introduction, because what he didn't say was how committed you were to the community and not to what could be provided to you fiscally.
Oh, yeah.
That was left out. Do we have another caller? Okay. Caller, you are on the Sharpens Iron show. Can't hear you. There you go.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I turned the radio down. I apologize.
Good.
I turned the radio down.
Okay.
Howdy.
I couldn't hear what you all were saying because they had me on hold, but I did want to comment on what the young man had said earlier prior to the person giving the trick question.
I'm glad you heard
that. I just think that's wild. Yes, it's just wild. I mean, if you want to make a comment and then make your point. But the bottom line is this: the people that we elect to represent us over there on that city council.
Yes, ma'am.
And I cannot think of the lady's name that just got reelected.
Natasha Harper Madison.
That's exactly who I'm talking about.
Yes.
If we can't get people to represent us and actually do something, then it's really not making a big difference in us. We as black people like to support black individuals running for a position, but yet when they get there, they don't do anything to improve the community. That is my concern. I moved to Austin. I am not an Austinite. But I have lived in that community and in that area for the past 7 years. and I moved from an area that was a lot more caring and affluent of the surroundings that they had.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do know is that when we have an opportunity to elect someone and put them in there to represent us, they're supposed to represent us.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen a change in the way that the area looked prior to the changes with the construction when Natasha Harper Madison was in office.
Mm-hmm.
She's been elected twice. I can go to the west side over in Capitol, Texas, wherever it is. The maintenance over there, the landscaping is immaculate.
Mm-hmm.
We come over to the east side of Austin from Airport, from 38th Street back down to I-35. They'll mow the lawns, they'll mow the area, but when you get past 38th Street or 38 and a half, it's just hooded.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they mow it, sometimes they don't, but you are guaranteed from the area where I-35 up to that point is always taken care of because Mueller is there.
Mm-hmm.
They want to make that impression that everything is clean and nice.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing is done inside, outside of that particular area. So my concern is that, yes, it's true. When other ethnicities move into the area, things do change. We don't get out and vote. I go down to the Millennium Center, and when I walk in there, I can walk in there, spend 5 minutes and vote, and walk back out. But yet we'll get on the radio, we'll complain, and you'll have all these irate or concerned citizens talking about how much they care about the community, but they don't come out and vote. Mm-hmm. They don't make a change. Mm-hmm. They don't just kind of flow and actually have the opportunity, because your vote makes a difference. Mm-hmm. 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 And as far as Givens Park, I will drive past Givens Park. I won't go in Givens Park.
Come on, sister.
You know,
I'm just telling you the truth.
I would ask
you
why,
have to be real about it. You know why? Mm-hmm. Because from the street, you can see them on the benches, sitting there, shooting dice, playing cards, drinking. Who wants to bring a family atmosphere into something like that?
Yeah.
In the middle of the day, from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock, these people are not working. They're down there having a good time and doing what they want to do. So who wants to bring a family into that sort of environment? We have to be real. We have to take care of ourselves.
I agree.
We haven't taken care of ourselves.
And I know you might.
But yet we complain about other people coming in there and wanting to make a change. It wouldn't be a need for a change if we were taking care of our community and actually being responsible stewards of what we already had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have to agree.
Our churches don't speak up. Our churches don't speak up. They love building buildings. They love building, adding on to their churches and making these amazing edifices to come into the church, but they're not actually going out and doing discipleship. Mm-hmm. So we have to be held accountable for some of the things that we have not done. We can talk about what other people haven't done for us or that we haven't actually initiated, but we have to also take responsibility too.
Well, we thank you so much for your call, caller. Thank you for all your insight. Yeah. I want to shift and say two things real quick before we forget. And Stephen, I could see you jumping off your seat here. Respond.
I enjoy it. Thank you.
I want to say, first of all, to those people who take the 10 o'clock hour to 2 o'clock to shoot dice or whatever, let me just say the important thing about that is that our parks, as long as they're safe, if people decide that they want to spend their day shooting dice or whatever, and as long as there's not an element of any kind of danger, I support people being able to use a park freely and in a safe way.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I mean, we know that things have happened because of, maybe shoot dice, playing cards, this type of thing. But this also happens in white parks. Mm-hmm. I really want people to understand that. We're not. I mean, I have gone to Zilker Park, and seeing people so high out of their minds on the doing the frisbees and stuff like that, higher than Cuda Brown. And, and we don't make that kind of call per se on other races, because when black people tend to get into things that we consider maybe like a gambling or whatever, we have a fear that there's always an element of danger when it's really not. And then the other thing is that I believe that the taking care of the parks, like you said, I mean, we do have to take responsibility, but we have never been privileged to actually have the purse. White people have the purse. It is a factored thing. And so we have dealt with the resources that we've had to maintain. But like, where were we going to get the money to fix a leak in the pool that was leaking 100 gallons of water or whatever it was you said? And we have a caller again, Stephen. I wanted you to get the response. Caller, thank you so much for holding. You're on the Iron Sharpens Iron show.
Good morning.
Good morning. Afternoon.
Well,
it's morning somewhere.
Afternoon, yes, that's right. It still feels like morning to me.
Amen.
Yes. I wanted to chime in on the last lady there. She's valid on a lot of issues there.
Yeah.
I was listening to the city council debate when they had the election, before the election here for the new city council members. And I heard a lot of the white race giving Miss Harper a lot of praise. I didn't hear very many black people. Actually, I didn't hear any black people.
No, Austin Justice Coalition, they definitely, the Nelson, all of them. Let's just talk about there were black organizations that promoted their candidates and because they are black, the black face, a lot of people supported based on those that are affiliated and associated with those organizations. I'm sorry, keep going.
But not the community members, organization.
Yeah. Not the community members, organizations. Sorry about that. There you go. Keep going.
Yeah. So some of the debates I heard, I didn't hear that. But anyway, I'm kind of displeased with the work that she has done because I haven't heard anything about the Black Embassy. Her and Mayor Adler was one time pushing for reparations for the black community here in Austin. Have not heard any more about that.
And you won't.
That's what I'm saying. So, it just goes back to that saying, black faces in high places. We don't need that. We need people that are going to take action, stand on what they promised to us.
Yes, that's good stuff. Yes.
Yeah, not just get in there and start rubbing elbows and getting your salary and getting a little name for yourself when your community is displeased with you.
Yeah. No.
And she's very hard to reach. I've tried to reach her office. I can't get anyone to answer the phone. I've sent emails. They don't respond to my emails.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
Wow. Yeah. If Council Member Natasha Harper Madison or any of her people are listening, you have a constituent who's been trying to reach out to you. Might want to just check your emails.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me saying too, like you said,
thank you for your call, caller too.
Yes. Okay.
A lot of folks, this is a decent paying job, the best salary that a lot of folks are making, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I will say is that you cannot lose touch. You're supposed to be representing certain folks and your constituents, and when you're hard to reach and when folks can't get in contact. It just doesn't give us a good representation. So
it's so much to say, and we have another call, but it's just so much, it's so much to say, so many responses, and Stephen, I'm going to get to so many other things that you're doing and involved with, and we can't get past this. Thank you so much, caller, for your call. You're on the Iron Sharpens Iron show.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
Amen.
Well, I'm sitting here listening at your talk show and about Devin Park and East Austin. My name is Coach Ware. I have one of the oldest track and Field Club here in Austin.
Yes. Okay.
Houston Tillerson.
Yes.
So what I'm calling for is, we keep talking about all this other stuff, but like you said, we are taxpayers. But all these tracks that's on the east side of Austin, you will have to take a look at that. Those are not real good tracks. But you go to Fruitville, you go to Cedar Park, you go to Westlake, they're all brand new. And we cannot get none of these tracks in Austin fixed up. And we taxpayers.
Yeah.
And my kids have to train the best we can, because everybody don't play football. Everybody don't play basketball. But I have a whole lot of track runners, and we don't have a place to practice. And what gets my goat for years is we have to pay for these facilities that we're already paying tax for to use.
Mm-hmm. It's like we're getting taxed twice.
Coach Ware, so what have you personally done anything or tried to reach out to any council members or Travis County, Jeff Trevay, have you tried to reach out to ask for any assistance, or any of these advocacy groups that have tons of money to speak on behalf of the need for the upgrades on the tracks? Have you personally done that, or do you know where to go to do that?
Well, we're talking about that now, because that's been going on for years, and I'm glad I can get this information. And I'm going to, if you would like to take my number down,
yes,
you could email me or either text me some numbers, and I would greatly appreciate that.
Give me your phone. Let me have your number, please, if you don't mind giving it on the air.
I don't mind. I don't mind.
Okay.
It's 512 717-2848.
We'll have somebody call you when we get off the air. Coach Ware, thank you so much for your service to the community.
Thank you
I know
so
exactly who you are. Thank you for all the years of work, and we appreciate you so much. Maybe they'll give you one of the keys to the city.
Yeah.
Take care.
Well, thank y'all very much for that. Thank you. Now, this is the twin. There's Harvey and Howard. It's two of them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
HT legends.
Both of us was there. So we're doing what we have to do for the community.
That's good.
But thank you so much for your service to the community.
All right. I appreciate you.
512-836-2887. Wow. You can't get past it.
That's good. It's good. Community members need to feel empowered, and the power should be with the people, not with just 2 or 3 advocacy groups or a city council member. We should be pushing those groups, especially if they want our dollars, and if they're getting tax dollars. If an advocacy group is getting tax money, then we have a right to criticize. We have a right to speak up and say where we want our dollars spent. We don't want. I know for me personally, I'm not impressed with the dinners and the lunches and the taking pictures at fancy places. If anyone's seen the Black Judas, I mean, they got him by getting him some fancy dinners, and our community. But I also want to put the pressure on community members to stand up and keep speaking out. You have a voice just as powerful as any organization or nonprofits. Use your voice, speak up, and keep coming.
And we have to talk about your nonprofit, and I don't want to lose sight of that. But I may have to bring you back, you, Fatima. I have to bring everybody back. And one of the things one of the callers said was talking about the Black Embassy and reparations, which at some point earlier last year, many of the mayors got together about the reparation. Let me just say this to those who are listening real quickly. So the pandemic is over. George Floyd has been beat and killed. It's over with. So all the outpour of money and concern for Black people and our issues, it's over with. So they were having the meetings about reparations and this, that, and the third, because at the time it was a heightened interest in Black people, in inequities and injustices that were happening to Black people. And let me tell you, if you didn't jump in and monetize like many of these organizations that are pop-up organizations who became fat and funded, during the tragedy that happened to people all over the country and right here, even in Austin, Texas. So if you didn't get it then, it's over with. So that's all I'm saying. It's over with. I don't think they're going to have another meeting about reparations. They may, but I haven't seen it. And then with the Black Embassy, I don't know what's going on with that. That was started and kind of spearheaded by Nook Turner. Charles Byrd, known as Nook Turner, who was the person who had put that out there. So maybe at some point or another, somebody will have him on and he'll talk about where that is, because I don't know where that is. And Natasha Harper Madison was supporting that, I heard at one point. So I don't know what's going on with that, but that we don't have a Black embassy, we better try to exercise the dollars that we pay taxes for and maximize that. Thank you, caller, for holding. You're on the Iron Sharpens Iron show. We lost you. 512-836-2887 if you want to join into the conversation. Let's shift real quick. Stephen, I really wanted to talk to you about the case that you had and what that was like. But I also know that you're involved in ECHO, and you have a nonprofit right now, recently funded some additional funding and stuff for the work you do. And wherever you want to go with that, I want to use your last little bit of time to talk about whichever way you want to go with that. Well, 512-836-2887. Stephen Brown's on with us this morning.
I can hit them briefly. With the work that I do at ECHO is, ECHO is the overall continuum of care for the homeless response system we have here. Homeless, folks are near and dear to me, because when I first started serving, I just recognized there was a lot of Black homeless people. I think, 38% of the homeless population is African American. And, I didn't understand how we live in such a rich city and yet we have so many homeless folks. Although some of them, mental health, there's a lot of, different components that contribute to it. But I just wanted to be involved with making sure that we are addressing this issue from a Black lens. There's a theory that if you human-centered design says that if we can solve the greatest of the problem, then by default you solve the rest of the problem. And if the greatest of the problem is that there's a lot of African Americans that are homeless, we need to see how we can solve homelessness from that lens, just like how we solve homelessness when veterans are homeless. You go to PTSD, you start tailoring and catering approaches to that population. So if we can get the city of Austin to tailor the approach to solving homelessness through the needs and the trauma and the things that homeless people experience, I think we can go in a different direction.
I want to just add to that, prioritize Black people, please.
Yeah,
and the reason why I say that is because before I left my office this morning, yesterday, I watched on the news, and I watched how Travis County gave over $11 million, I believe, to Mobile Fishes and Loaves, which is run by Alan
Graham.
Yeah, Alan Graham. And so I have done many personal visits to, it was $35 million in federal funding. And let me just say, thank you. Let me just tell you that what bothers me about this is that I have done a couple of site visits out there. And I have seen the tiny homes out on Decker Lake and stuff like that. They're doing wonderful work. Let me tell you, it is wonderful work. But there are very, very minimal Black people that are out there. So you're continuing to fatten frogs to feed snakes, as far as I'm concerned, because you believe in this particular person and their work. How many times have any of the Travis County commissioners or anybody been out there to really see the amount of minorities that are occupying those tiny homes, mobile homes, whatever it is that they have out there? How many people have you counted that look like they are not white that are staying in these places, and yet you give them even more resources? I'm not saying not to give the resources. I'm saying that you all are not listening to us when we're saying that Black people, even in a homeless state, especially those Black people who are homeless and have the scarlet letter of being a felon, you all are not prioritizing those of us who can help those people, because you're overlooking us because you want to give your budget dollars to somebody that you feel is a white, that is an entrusted white person that you all know, as opposed to looking at people who can actually do the work and have their hands on the pulse of the people who are African American and Hispanic. And it's just a tragedy to me to watch our elected officials continue to perpetuate some of this behavior on their own people, and they look like us. They're elected by us, and so that's a problem for me. 512-836-2887. We are coming down to the wire, Stephen. Please, I just.
Well,
wow.
so so the nonprofit that I started it's a healthcare. We try to help young folks in the community, high schoolers, discover pathways to prosperity through careers in healthcare. And, career in healthcare is what provided a stable lifestyle for me, and so that I don't always have to lean on advocacy or the trauma of others. I don't have to marginalize and tell people's story so healthcare is a solid pathway. And, we want to get young folks in that space. One, it takes care of the income inequality. These kids will have a great job in a career, and it will allow them to advocate for their loved ones when behind the curtain in the OR, in different places in the hospital system. So
how do people get in touch with you, Stephen, if they are interested in talking to you more about that particular thing for their children or for the young people?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. It's just Stephen Brown. I know there's a lot of Stephen Browns, but I'm the only one sitting on a Harley.
Hey, he's the only one sitting on a Harley with waves in tow. Listen, so if you do need to get in touch with Stephen and you didn't catch that, you can reach us at our office number 512-836-2887. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the radio station. 512-473-2525. And I want to let Stephen have, I don't know why you point to him, but anyway, he is going to have a closing. We have the caller. We see you on there. We're going to pick you up, and we're going to just hear what you have to say. As soon as RJ picks the phone up, we're up against an hour. Stephen, I know that you wanted to you need to give a number or something, but will you please give your how people can find you one more time? And then I'll give my number so they can call me, and I'll give them your information.
Perfect. Well, so if you are looking for me, you can email at sbrown_101@yahoo.com, or you can go on Facebook, and it's Stephen.A.Brown, and it's same as Instagram.
Okay, caller, 1 minute. We got one. No, caller, you're not there. Okay, so you've been listening to the Iron Sharpens Iron Show, and I'm your host, Latrice Cook. You can reach Mr. Brown. We can give you his information, 512-473-2525. And we will be back with you on the 1st. The next Wednesday is actually February 1st. I don't know who's going to be on the show, but somebody will be here with me. And I just want to tell you all, if you haven't made your tax-deductible contribution, please do that today to KAZI. And Slice is, lurking around here because, he's always excited about doing, what is it? So he's here in the building, and so I'm going to have to lend my seat so that he can get in the booth and get started giving you some flavor in your ear. Thank you so much for your listenership and continuing to support the Iron Sharpens Iron Show. And as you know, your success is important to us.